And so by this time, you'd been in the army a few years.
Yep.
Had you got a rank by this time? Or?
No, so only when I came back off Harrogate in 2008, then I went on the NCO Carter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
so when I came back off that tour.
Yeah.
So I did.
Was it another case of who wants to come on it, put your hand up, or did you get selected?
Oh no, you sort of get picked for it. So you do between your boss and the sergeant major, and you sort of get put forward for it. So you do, and yeah, I'd served my time. I was a half decent soldier. You know what I mean? I was ready for getting promoted. So went and done the NCO Carter 6 weeks.
Was that another one? Head down, do it 100%.
It was 100% was definitely at the start, but about halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, I got injured. So
Okay.
then I hurt my knee, and I had done enough to pass at that point, but I hadn't. You know, there were still 2 or 3 weeks left of the course. Well, there were still 2 weeks left of the course, most of it being final X. So I was never going to do great on the course, if you know what I mean.
Got it, yeah.
But I'd done enough to pass the course. So I passed and I picked up Lance Corporal pretty soon, actually. I know now there's a bit of a delay on it, so you could go and do the NCO Carter. You might have to wait a year to actually get the rank, but I picked up fairly quickly.
Do they do the same thing? So in the engineers, when we do our NCO Carter, you'll get a bunch of people that will get made up on the square when you finish, and then in your report you'll get like a length of time before you'll get maybe the opportunity to get promoted. And when I did mine, I was way too young. I was one of the I'll do it. Yeah, some major, stick me on it. I'm great. Yeah. I've been a cadet. I was way too young and inexperienced. So I think I had like over a year wait before I got selected. So was it the same for you lot?
It wasn't then, but I think it is like that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're now a Lance Corporal. And so what is next for you as Lance Corporal?
So after that there, I sort of got steered down signals. So I'd done a bit of signals. Went and done all my signals courses. Signaller for Recce Platoon, which is, it's not a bad post. It's a fairly decent post. Signals wasn't really a love of mine, but I was half decent at it, so they sort of sent me on it. Went and done the equivalent Lance Corporal's course for signals, and then went and done the equivalent Corporal's course for signals.
What makes them different then?
It's just the level that you're working to. So for Lance Jack, you're sort of working up to a company level, and then if you go and do the screws course, you're working up to a battalion level. Okay. So you could be at battalion HQ running the comms for them. So
is that just more communication boxes?
Yeah, pretty much.
in a simple term.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just the level that you're working at, different levels that you're working at. I went and done that, but it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't really my love. Signals wasn't really a love of mine, but I was half decent at it. So I went and done that, and then that would have been enough to promote, but then I would have been single track on signals, and I would only have promoted through the signals chain if I'd have just kept doing that. So as an infantry soldier, I had to go down and do junior bragging.
Okay.
So I went, done it, done all right in that, and then came back and promoted pretty much off the back of that, because it was double hatted as a screw.
Nice. Okay. So that does sound different to engineers, let's say. So Brecon, junior Brecon, again, we don't really do that. So this is all great learning for a lot of people listening as well. So junior Brecon, I believe that's an infantry thing, right?
Yeah.
So you guys head off and you do loads of infanteering, is that right?
Yeah. So like, it's a 4-month course, which is long. Like 4 months is a long time.
It's a long time, yeah.
So 2 months of that is learning how to instruct weapons. So I could teach you how to use a weapon, and every weapon that they use within the British Army at an infantry level, I can instruct somebody on how to use that weapon. That's the first 2 months. So the skeleton arms phase.
That's a lot of weapons.
Yeah,
for 2 months solid.
Yeah, and then so I can instruct you how to use the weapon, but also I can take you on the range and train you how to actually fire the weapon and assess you on the range. So all your range qualifications as well. So that's the first 2 months, and then the second 2 months is tactics. So you learn how to be a section commander within the British Army.
Okay.
And it's an intense course. It's not an easy course. It's quite hard. You're out on a Monday on exercise, and you don't come in again to the Friday, or sometimes you're out for 2 weeks. I think final X is maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's an intense course. You're learning a lot of skills. You have to be fit to do it. You have to be robust to do it because it's 2 months long. Like I know loads of guys that are fit, but if they do fitness any more than 2 or 3 weeks in a row, they just break themselves because they're not robust enough. So it's a good course.
Was it a proud moment to pass that?
Yeah, I would say it is. You have to do it. To get your screw, you have to go down and do it. So you do. But yeah, it's still a proud moment to pass junior braking and to do well in the course. Again, the injury that I had picked up, I had a knee injury from. So I went down and done P company.
Oh, you did?
And come the end of, I didn't pass P company, but come the end of P company, I picked up a really bad knee injury. That was just before my NCO carter.
Right.
So that was my niggle on the NCO carter the last couple of weeks. It sort of came back. And then when I went and done juniors, skeletal arms wasn't fine. You don't do a lot of fizz on it, but the sort of 2 months of tactics, the last couple of weeks of it again, the knee sort of was playing up. So I'd done all right in the course. It wasn't bad, but you sort of get graded. I can't remember what it was. It was A's down to whatever, A plus, A minus, all that sort of stuff. I can't remember if it was that or if it was competent or highly competent, but I think it was sort of middle of the field, like sort of bottom of the top third sort of thing. But because I was double had it when I came back to battalion, with the signals, then I picked up straight away.
Okay.
So I did.
So you mentioned being double hatted. So is this for like later on when you start getting promoted beyond corporal?
Well, no, just even for corporal. If you've, so I had already done a course that qualified me to be a corporal, so I could have already been a corporal before I went down on junior bragging.
But in the role of signals.
But in the role of signals,
Got it. Okay.
which meant if I wanted to then get sergeant, it would only have been in signals. If I wanted to get sergeant major, it would only have been in signals, and I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So that's why I went and done junior braking, so that it opens more doors for promotion, and I can promote to sergeant through the infantry role or colour sergeant through the infantry role.
Yeah, nice. So you come back, you get promoted, feeling pretty good now that you're a full corporal?
Yeah. So between 2008, so the 2008 tour, coming back off the 2008 tour, and deploying on the 2011 tour, you got like 2 and a bit years there. For them 2 and a bit years, I was flat out. My feet didn't touch the ground. Between NCO carter, all the signals courses, exercises, junior braking, like it just didn't touch. It was flat out.
Busy time.
Yeah. So by the time I went to Afghan, I was like, whoa, I just want to chill out a bit. Do you know what I mean? But then Afghan was coming round. I just picked up screw. And I hadn't done it was one of the things that I was sort of disappointed with. I hadn't done pre-deployment training with my team, the guys that I was going to work with, because I was on junior bragging.
Okay.
Just before we deployed, I finished it, and then I think it was like 3-4 weeks after I deployed. So it was busy old time, but we got out there, and I was working with senior blokes, senior team, all good blokes, guys that I'd all worked with before. To be fair, I just hadn't done the beat up with them, hadn't done the training just prior to going. And
is that the same area in Afghan?
We were working in a different area. We were working in a town called Nadi Ali at this point. It was quite a busy place, and we were ops company. So you had A, B, and C company ground holding in Nadi Ali. So they had their different areas within Nadi Ali, and then you had ops company. So us that would say A company was getting it a bit tight, or B company was getting it a bit tight with attacks and stuff, we'd go down and bolster them up and help them and go out and do a bit of patrolling and see if we could thin out the enemy a little bit, sort of thing. So we got to move around the area, the AO, quite a bit, which was good. It was a good role, and we got to deploy loads of different tactics and just got to sort of do our own thing. It was a good tour. I enjoyed it.
And is this the first time you have your own team because you're now a full corporal?
Well, because we were quite senior and working with a lot of senior guys, there was actually a lot of ranks within our teams. Okay. So I was only a 2IC as a corporal.
Right.
There was a colour sergeant and even a sergeant major within the teams. So we were working. It wasn't really a lot of infantry work's done at section level, but we were working at multiple level. So there was like, sort of section and a half, but in charge of that was like a sergeant major or a colour sergeant.
Okay.
So as a screw, I was only 2 IC. Sometimes, and actually, moving on to sort of when I got hit, the day that I got hit, I was doing point man. I was a point man on the patrol, because it was coming into the R&R sort of phase, and guys were going home to see their families and stuff like that there, and the teams were all moving about a bit. So really, as a screw, you wouldn't necessarily expect the screw to be doing point man, but it's a role that I'd done before loads of times, so I didn't mind doing it at all.
So you mentioned about getting hit. Are you comfortable in sharing?
Yeah, of course. So we went out on Herrick 13, so in 2011, and it was a winter tour. It's the first time we had done a winter tour. So it was January, and it was a cold morning. Like, there was a lot of frost on the ground. One of the first times I'd seen frost on the ground in Afghan. Like, it was a bad one. But and like I say, there was guys moving about sections and stuff. So I had been moved into another section, was doing point man. So had all the point man kit on, with a Valum and stuff like that, the metal detector Valum. And we went out on patrol, and it was a normal enough patrol. I knew the area that we were going to. I knew what we were going to do. So we set off. We were speaking to locals. So a big thing at that time was human terrain mapping. So trying to find out who lived in that house. Take a picture of him. See if he's happy enough to give us some DNA. So like a swab or a fingerprint or something like that there. Just so that we could find out who was in the area. And try and find Mr. Taliban that's planting IEDs. So we had moved from like a couple of different compounds, doing a bit of human terrain mapping, and then we were moving to another compound. And between it, there was two ploughed fields, and then a track in the middle with like a disused compound on that track. And it was off to the right-hand side, sort of diagonal. So my plan was walk across the field, cross straight over the track into the other field, and then walk to the compound that we wanted to get to. But I wanted to stay away from the disused compound. It's all, you don't go near disused compounds, sort of as a rule, because they like putting IEDs around them. So walked across the field, and there was like a natural break in the wood. There was a tree line that run along the path, and there was a natural break in it. So I went through there. I went up one of the track, and just as I stepped on the track, the hair sort of stood up in the back of my neck, because I knew I was too close to the compound, the disused compound that was off just to the right hand side. I thought I'd walked by it by like maybe 50, 60 metres, but I'd only maybe done like 20 metres. So as I went up one of the track, I was like, that's a bit close. And then one of my mates behind me was like, what's wrong with you, Barney? You don't want to walk on that track or blah. He said something smart, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And like, don't get me wrong, it's not the first time the hairs just stood up in the back of my neck doing something. So I was like, yeah, whatever, just crack on. So I cracked up on the track, and I just went straight across the track. I didn't like really walk down the track that much. I just went straight across it. And as I went straight across it, just hit it, bang, hit the IED. I just had picked the bit. It's bad luck, bad route selection, whatever you want to call it. And then just from there, just a massive explosion. Dust everywhere, ears sort of popped out and that, and yeah, just the overpressure of the explosion. Initially, I was like, I didn't know what had happened. Initially, I didn't think, I've been hit. For the first couple of seconds, I wasn't like, I've been hit. I just knew something had happened. I thought somebody had fired an RPG and it had hit the compound, and that was the dust cloud, and it had knocked me on my back. That's what I thought. But then I realised, my leg's bloody sore here, and there's people running around me, and I'm sort of looking about. I think I'm the one that's been hit here. And I sort of went to sit up to look at my leg and that, and one of my mates sort of pushed me down. He was like, Barney, you don't want to see it. I was like, right, Roger, no dramas. And then medic came over, put the tourniquet on. One of my mates banged a couple of morphine in me. I remember my hips being really sore. I remember asking a mate for a drink of water, and you don't normally give water to casualties, but like I had the whole of Afghan in my mouth at this point. So I was like, look, I'll not drink it. Just give me it till I wash my mouth out. Done that. Heli came in, picked me up, give the old high five to my mate. Bit of a funny story actually, but he went. So I'm on a stretcher. They've carried him out on a stretcher. My mate sort of goes down to, like hug me or whatever, like kiss me on the cheek sort of thing, like see you in a bit, mate, sort of thing. See you when you're healed. And I sort of turn to face him to look at him, and he ends up flipping kissing me on the lips. And I was like, that was a bit gay. But anyway, and I'm lying there with my leg blowing off, and I was like, oh, that was a bit much. But so I sort of laughed at myself on that one. And then flew me back to Bastion in the operating theatre, sorted me out. And initially they hadn't. So the foot had been gone, that red mist, and then there was a bone hanging out, and then it was like sort of all kebab meat just below the knee. And they didn't know where to cut the leg off, if you know what I mean. They didn't know if what was left below the knee was going to be good enough to support a prosthetic leg or anything like that. And they didn't make that call in Bastion. So they sort of packed it up and then just flew me back and let them make the decision in Birmingham. And so even when I got to Birmingham and they put me under and were put me into theatre, I still didn't know if it was going to be a below knee or above knee, which is a big thing in the sort of world of prosthetic legs, if you're going to be a below knee or above knee. But lucky enough, when I came round then the day later, then I was a below knee, and I was happy enough. Like,
so between the actual explosion and the helicopter coming in, was that quick?
Yeah, it was really quick. I can't remember exactly. Like, obviously, I was,
of course,
I was in like a lot of pain and quite a lot of morphine, but I'm going to say in around about 20 minutes.
That's pretty quick.
It wasn't much more than that.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
And from what you remember, you're conscious throughout all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing that sticks in your head. But you did. People laugh at this, right?
Yeah.
We try and have a lot of banter. Did the guys try and keep you?
Yeah. So I remember like one of the things that I was talking to you about with a friend of mine. We're both into cars. I was like, how am I going to drive my BM now? Like after that tour, I was planning on buying a BM. And I was like, how am I going to drive it now? I'm not going to be able to drive manual. I've lost my leg. Blah, blah, blah. It's just like a stupid stuff that comes into your head. Like, do you know what I mean? It's weird. But from what I remember isn't exactly how it played out.
Sure.
Some of the stuff that I'm telling you is not exactly how I remember it, but my mates have told me this is how it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it come to like who it was put the tourniquet on, I thought it was somebody else, but it was actually it was another guy. So there's certain parts of it that I think I remember, but I don't actually, because it was my mates that have told me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So then you come back to Birmingham, and is that Selly Oak?
No. So at this point, Selly Oak, well, it wasn't closed, but they weren't sending ones there. They were sending them to the Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, to Queen Elizabeth. Yeah. And so how long was you there for?
I was there for a month. Yeah, pretty much exactly to the day I was there a month. I don't know exactly how many operations I had. I think it was like 6 or 7 operations I had while I was there. But they were great. They were great in that hospital. My friends and my family came across to visit me. My girlfriend came across to visit me. And yeah, just time spent in the hospital, innit? In a hospital bed and sort of getting used to it. There was a lot of emotions going through at that time. That's like early on, like the first month of being injured is an emotional time. I remember just replaying the event in my head constantly.
Okay.
Like a million times a day. Just that's what I was doing when I was in hospital, just replaying the event. Why did I go left when I, could I have went right? What could I have done better? All the whys. Why did it happen? All that sort of stuff. And at the end of it, I was just like, what's the point in worrying about why? Like, that doesn't benefit me. I need to just accept the fact that I'm diffy a leg now. I need to crack on. And that's when I started looking at like what blokes do with prosthetic legs and what they have done, especially military lads, There was guys at the time, I think they were rowing the Atlantic at the time, or were they maybe trekking to the North Pole or something like that. There was a lot of stuff going on. And I was like, these guys are cracking on. I can crack on. Like, it's not a big a drama. It's only the bottom part of my right leg. I remember having the conversation with my girlfriend, like, she didn't sign up to be with an amputee, you know what I mean, that sort of stuff. So, and she turned around and said, look, I love you, not your leg. So I was like, right, that's that sort of. And I was very, like, pragmatic in sorting stuff out, and sorting out, like, my rehab and, like, what I wanted to achieve. And I just accepted it. I just accepted, yes, I've lost my leg. That's happened. There's nothing I can do about that. So what things can I change, and what's the best outcome in rehab? The things that I can affect, let's affect them positively. And that's what I've done. The whole of rehab, that's what I've done.
It sounds like a very, very strong mindset, because you're someone that's wanted to be in the army since 7-8 years old. You've by the sounds of it done a really good start to your career. You probably got in your head, as most military people, a kind of pathway of a direction of where you want to go, which rank you want to get to.
Yeah.
So what was it? What made you be that grown up? What made you be that kind of sensible?
Don't know.
In hospital.
Genuinely don't know, mate. I've been asked that question before. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the support. I knew the support network was there for me. I knew my friends and family were there for me. That obviously helps. I remember there was a period of time when I thought I would still be able to stay in the army.
Okay.
And like go into a training role or something like that there, or like an admin role. And I did have the signals thing, and I could have done signals, because I could have went down that route and sort of done the stores for the signals, if you like, or something like that there. So there was options there. But I remember having a very honest conversation with a guy, and he said to me, Barney, you're a good soldier, like, you're good at what you do, and you're keen at what you do, and you're amongst your peers, people know you as a good bloke. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And he was like, they're not going to know that. The new ones coming up aren't going to know that anymore about you. You're just going to be the stores bloke that lost his leg in Afghan. That grumpy stores bloke that only has one leg. And that's not going to be good for you, mate. You're going to be around the job that you want to be doing, but you're not going to be able to do it. And I was like, yeah, you're true. That's true, mate. If I stay here, I'll just be better. So well, because I'll see the lads doing the job that I want to do, and I'll not be able to do it.
Yeah.
And he was right. It was it was an honest conversation, but he was right. He was 100% right. So that's when the decision was made that I'm out of the army. I'm transitioning out, and it was once the decision's made, then that's it. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, that can't happen. So what can happen? What can I do? And that's the way that I've done the whole rehab. I don't know. It's kind of the way that I sort of approach everything, really. Okay. Once you've made the decision, or once you've came to the conclusion, then stop thinking about it.
Yeah, crack on.
That's the way. And it might take a minute or two to get to that conclusion or get to that decision, but once you've got there, then stop bloody thinking about it and crack on and do something else. And when I was in hospital, I'd kind of got to that. There was, like I say, there was that honest conversation that I had, and there was a wee bit of hemming and hawing. Would I still stay in the army? But once that decision had been made, I was like, nah, that's done. That chapter's over. It was good while it lasted. I loved it, but it's done. So let's now crack on some other direction.
So you finish in hospital, you get well enough to leave hospital, and then you mentioned rehab. So did you do that at Headley Court? Yeah, so normally what happens is you'll do your time in hospital, and then straight away from hospital they'll discharge you to Headley Court. Okay. That's normally what happens. But because this was coming near the end of my tour date, so I had been hit quite close to the end of tour. So I'd already been away for like the good 5 months, plus then the month in hospital, 6 months. So I was like, I want to go home for a week or two, and sort of chill out.
And I get why they don't do it. Like, I get why they want to get you to Headley Court as soon as they can, because yes, it's not a hospital, but it's designed for people that have severe injuries. So doors are automatic. There's lifts everywhere. You don't have to worry about steps in your wheelchair. You know, it's all purpose built. Whereas you go home and you go back to what used to be normal, but it's not normal anymore, because now you have to hop or go up on your bum up the steps in your house, up the stairs in your house to get to your bedroom, which is a shock. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when I left this house, I was able to walk up them stairs. Now I have to go up them on my bum. That'll bring you back down to earth real quick. So well. And there was loads of things like that there. Just like, there was a couple of steps to get into the house. Now I have to try and like, get off my wheelchair, bounce up, move my wheelchair. And yes, after a while they get you a ramp and you can do that and they can sort it out for you, or move the bed downstairs. There's ways and means around things. But it's a reality check whenever you go from tour, active, young, fit bloke, to hospital, healing and recovering, but everything, like, yeah, you're in a wheelchair, but everything's wide and doors open and everything's sorted for you and you're getting looked after and food comes to you and tea comes to you and all that sort of stuff, to then going on home and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And it's a moment, like, it was actually quite a dark part of my recovery. Them first like 2 weeks, it was good to get home, see my friends. We had a bit of a party up in the local services club, which was good. Like, don't get me wrong, but it was, yeah. So some of the nights when I was just like lying in the house going, is this my life now? Like, is this what it consists of? So then after done that, there I went to Headley Court. And that's where you just start the long road to recovery. Like, you know, took me about 2 years. The first admission, I was up on my leg, which was good.
Or did they get you a
prosthetic leg?
Yeah, was it an actual leg or was it the stumpy one that they talked about?
No, it was an actual leg. It was very, very padded out.
Okay.
Just because you're obviously not used to putting weight through it, through your stump. So it's really padded, foam, and also the leg looks massive. Okay. Around the knee area. But you're up, you're standing vertical, and you're taking a couple of steps. And then from there you just learn, you're building up, sort of glutes and your legs and your hip flexors and your abs and stuff like that there, so that you can walk again. And then they just teach you all the different, like, going up steps, going down steps, going slopes, down slopes. How do you admin your leg, how do you look after it, what do you look out for, little rubs or blisters and stuff like that there. Just all the stuff that it is to be an amputee. And Headley Court was brilliant. I loved Headley Court. I really did. The staff there, top notch. The other, patients or whatever you want to call them, other veterans that were there. Brilliant rivalry between them. You know what I mean? Brilliant crack between them. Good banter. Exactly what I needed. Exactly. Yeah. There was I would never say anything bad about Headley Court.
No, me neither. And it's definitely one of those places where you go and you don't feel judged, right? Yeah. You feel like you fit in, right? Your injury might be worse than others, might be the same, might be not as, but you definitely feel like you fit in. And the banter, that's what keeps us going, right? So
that was it, and it was it was just good. Like, and all the staff there, like from the OTs to the physios to the PTIs and. Just everybody that was there, they're all there to help you.
And there was no silly question at all, is there?
Nah, that's all good. Like, you learn a lot of stuff when you're there, like, you know what I mean? And it was like, at that time there was a huge support from the public. So there was, like, they were giving like free tickets to go places, and there was just a lot of stuff going on at that time. It was 2011, a lot of stuff happening at that time. So don't get me wrong, I would have rather not been there, but it was good to be there, like, you know what I mean.
So you're at Headley Court. And you mentioned it took 2 years to kind of rehabilitate and get used to, being an amputee. At this point, is home being rejigged so that when you go back home, it's easier to live at home?
Within I bought a new house.
You bought a new house, okay.
Yeah. So the house was I bought a house that was fully adapted.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So yeah, yeah, because you're juggling a lot of stuff. You're juggling your rehab, but you're also juggling the fact that that you're exiting out of the army, so you have to have another career lined up. You're juggling your home life. You're trying to sort out your house and stuff like that, a car that you can drive. There's a lot of stuff to sort out, like, but again, all the staff at Headley Court, there was social workers there to help you out. There was OTs there to help you out, and it just it was a slick operation by the time I was going through it. So no, it was good recovery.
Yeah,
it was good,
And so you mentioned about having that mindset of, right, I'm going to leave. So what was your transition out into civilian life like for you? And also, what kind of career idea did you have for being a civilian?
That's probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I've had, to be honest with you. Because I wanted to be like I done my dream job. Like you're a kid. Oh, what's your dream job? Oh, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, I want to do that. Well, I wanted to be a soldier, so I done it. So there's no other job out there that's as good as the job that I done. I can't find it. I've accepted that. Trying to find something that comes close to it and gets me sort of in the, around the same people and the same banter and the same sort of atmosphere and stuff like that. There, I've done with outdoor sports and AT. So I have adventure training stuff. So when it comes to like climbing and kayaking and canoeing and stuff, that's the sort of stuff where what I like doing, and team building and working with youth and all that sort of stuff. That's what I focused on. So whenever I got out of the army, or whenever I got out of rehab, got out of the army, done my rehab, I was like, right, need a job. What do I want to do? I want to do something with AT. I want to work with youth. Right, where can I do that in Northern Ireland? There was a company called Todd's Leap. It was quite a large one in Northern Ireland. Right, let's start working there. Rung them up. I want to work there. What do I need to do? You need to volunteer for a few months, and then after that, if you're good enough, I'll give you a job. Right, when can I start? And that's how it went. And I'd done that now. I stayed there for like 2-3 years, but there was a lot of travelling involved. It wasn't close to my home, and I was staying down there quite a bit as well. So I couldn't sustain doing that. So then there was another company called Pathways, which is mobile. We go around different schools and different places, and we deliver the same sort of stuff, like sort of team building stuff for coast steering and kayaking, all adventure sports. So I've been working with them for a few years now, but it's very flexible because through rehab, I got involved with a team called Race to Recovery, so the rallying side of it, and we went out and done the Dakar Rally. I learned how to be a half-decent navigator in a rally car, and I do that as well as a hobby now. So that takes up a bit of my time. And then I volunteer with the Army Cadets as well. So that takes up a bit of my time as well. So I wouldn't say I have one career, a typical career. I don't have like one job where I go there Monday to Friday and work 9 to 5.
Okay.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want it. I've got loads of different companies that I can say that'll send me dates of when they want me to work, and if I want to work them, then I'll send them back and say, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So yeah, it's quite and because of the military pension that I got, without going into too much detail of it, but the way that it's worked out was age, rank, expected rank, and because I was quite a young full screw, I get quite a good pension, if you like.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily have to work for finance, for money, I haven't got the pressure of needing to work. So I end up doing stuff that I want to do instead of stuff that I need to do.
Okay.
So I enjoy it. It's a good way to be, actually.
And how's life with the prosthetic leg?
Yeah, it's good. It's I get about a bit. I do quite a lot of challenges and hill walking and stuff like that there. And yeah, it is what it is, mate. Like, could it be better? Yeah, probably. Could I do more fitness? Yeah, we all could do more fitness. We could all go to the gym more. We could all do more stretch sessions and be more, aware of our injury and be better I don't know what you want to call it, looking after or injuries, but I don't. I'm a normal bloke, you know what I mean? I do a little bit of phys. I can walk all day on this leg. It doesn't cause me any pain or any dramas really. Sometimes there's a little bit more admin involved in it, but it's life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it's just like I get like people wanting to go and be Paralympic. Happy days, fill your boots if that's what you want. But you have to be completely focused on that. Your whole life has to be completely focused on that. Or guys that like maybe run marathons with prosthetic legs. Happy days, fill your boots. Again, you have to be completely focused on being able to do that, because it's not just about running the marathon. It's about keeping your body like flexible and supple and keeping on top of the admin of it. Which is like, if that's what you want to do and that's what your goal is, then fill your boots, happy for you. But it's not something that I want to do. It's not like I'm not going to focus my whole life on being a Paralympic or being Paralympian or being like running marathons and stuff like that. But there's a serious work involved in it.
Yeah.
And like I take my hats off to them, like 100% take my hats off to guys that are injured that are going and doing them things, because there's so much more involved in it than just that one race that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's
and it's fueling your body.
it's keeping everything right.
Everything ticking over.
Everything just has to be just like a race car, mate. It just has to be on point. Like it just has to be looked after, and that's just not me, mate. I'm just like a normal bloke that has a prosthetic leg that does a little bit of phys and just has a normal life. That's just me.
You talk about Paralympian and you talk about phys. Have you used any sports yourself to
Yeah. So
help recovery?
I was involved in the Invictus Games,
Okay.
2018. So we went down to Sydney, and that was a brilliant experience. I really, really loved it.
What made you do that?
What made me do that? That's a good question. I wanted to reconnect with the injured community.
Okay.
Obviously, being over in Northern Ireland, there's not that many injured blokes knocking about, like physically injured blokes knocking about, so there's not. And there was loads of blokes at Headley Court. So I thought, I'll do the Invictus Games, I'll reconnect with a lot of these people. But I kind of left it too late, to be honest with you. There was a lot of guys that had already done the Invictus Games from my generation at Headley Court. So they had already done the Invictus. Some of them moved on to actually doing the Paralympics and stuff like that, and some of them had moved on, like JJ and stuff, moved on to do broadcaster and that. So I left it a little bit late. So there wasn't that many people that I was at Headley Court with that were actually involved in that team. But it didn't matter. I was still the injured community, still chatting away to people and still getting involved. And yeah, what a great experience, flying across, doing all the training camps. I done archery and rowing. Yeah, love both them sports. Love going to the training camps, doing a bit of extra phys, getting ready for down in the games. And then my girlfriend and my father and myself went down and done the games down in Sydney. And like, what a spectacle that was. It was massive. It was
good experience.
It was great to be part of it. Yeah, it was great to be part of it.
Standout moment for you out there?
Ooh, what was a standout?
Or was it competing? I don't know.
Standout moment. I don't really know. Like, I went down there. It was a mate of mine, Pav, who I met early days at Headley Court. I'd served with him before. He was a medic. I'd served with him before out in Afghan. And I met him, got reconnected then down at Headley Court. I think it was sharing the experience with him as well, because he got really involved in it as well. So, yeah, there was a couple of standout moments, but yeah, it was just being there and being part of the team and stuff like that. Just the whole thing was a standout moment.
Good. Now, if I remember this correctly, I may not have, so apologies, but did I connect with you at Lilleshall when you were doing final practices before heading out there?
Yeah.
So
we were doing
archery. That's right,
Yeah,
archery down there, because I hadn't been selected, but I was still up for going down and helping you guys out and stuff. So I remember doing that just before you went out. But yeah, it sounded like Sydney was a good time.
It was. Sydney was very good. Mate, there's plus and negative to everything that you do in life. And you if you wanted to, you could concentrate on the negative things. It's not really not really the way I.
It's not
work.
your thing.
It's not really my thing. So I concentrate on the positives of what I got out of being down there and what me and my family got out being down there and stuff. There was a couple of things that happened that annoyed me, but that's what it is.
But all in all, it was a good experience.
All in all, it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
Man. Fantastic.
You also mentioned about the rally aspect. You're saying that's a hobby now, but what's that entail to get involved with that from your aspect?
So back in the day, so when I first got injured, my very first admission at Headley Court, like I say, got connected with a guy called Pav that was a medic that I'd worked with previous. And he told me about a couple of guys that were setting up a rally team, and their goal was to compete in the Dakar Rally, which is one of the hardest rallies in the world. At the time, it was in South America, and you sort of raced through Peru, Chile, and Argentina. It was 9,000 kilometers, and it's hard. It's not an easy race. It's really hard. So that was their goal, but at the stage when I went into it, was just like a conversation kind of. It was just like how would, there was two guys. There was a guy called Tony Horace and a guy called Tom Leithwaite. Tony was a single below knee amputee and Tom was a triple amputee, a para lad. And there was a conversation between them two guys, and then it sort of was snowball, and I got involved in it when it was starting to snowball. And like just all of the training and trying to find sponsorship and trying to find vehicles to do this race and just everything, just all of it. It was massive. It was huge. Help for Heroes gave us a lot of support. So did a lot of other service charities. It took 2 years. So pretty much the whole time I was in rehab. It took 2 years to get the team together up to the standard and up to the level and the sort of training that we had needed to do to go out and compete. We took 4 race vehicles out to do the race, and I was the only car that finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Another big achievement then, really.
It was a massive achievement. It's something I look back on with really fond memories. It was a big thing for me to concentrate on during rehab.
Okay.
It really helped with my rehab.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool. And then the last thing you mentioned was cadets, and you're finding helping the youth learn more about the military is another benefit for yourself.
Yeah, so I like working with the cadets. I like giving back to an organisation, like giving back to this organisation. When I was going through rehab, a lot of service charities helped me out, and since sort of finishing rehab and cracking on with the rest of my life, I've given back to them charities. I've helped them out. I've been ambassadors for them. I've done challenges for them. I've raised money and awareness for them. And I've done that there for like the first few years. And then I was looking at other organisations that had, been fairly prominent in my life. And the Army Cadets was one of them. And I thought, yeah, I should give back to that organisation. So about 4 or 5 years ago now, I joined the Army Cadets, and yeah, love it. Love working with the youngsters, teaching them some army skills. Don't get me wrong, it's not the army, so it's not. But it's it's based loosely on army sort of values and standards, so it is, and giving the youngsters a bit of structure and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just good fun.
Nice.
I just enjoy it.
Good stuff. Well, Barney, it sounds like we've come to the end of your episode. It's some amazing things that you shared, but is there anything we haven't actually touched on that you wanted to share?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything, mate. So we have.
That's good. And how was it for yourself coming on the show?
Yeah, it was good, mate. I enjoyed it. This is some setup you've got. You've got a great setup. So
thanks very much.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, it's the first time I've packed all in the car and driven over to Northern Ireland, so it's been quite a journey for me. But I've enjoyed being over here for this past few days. I've got a bit longer over here, but
sunny Northern Ireland, mate.
It's not been bad weather. It's not been bad weather. But yeah, so as I said, thanks so much for sharing your experiences, sharing your stories, and what you've gone through during your time in the service, and also for giving up some of your time, allowing me to come here, spend a few hours with you, catch up, but also have you on the show. So thanks again.
My pleasure, mate. No problem. Cheers.
And lastly, as I say to all of my guests, thank you for your service.
No bother. Thank you. Thank you for yours.
No worries. No worries. This has been Military Veterans Podcast. Out.